So I have a thought and a story, and it's a very heavy story tonight. It's a very mature idea, but we have mature people here with a lot of life experience, and hopefully we can appreciate it. So I thought I'd speak about something from the Parsha. And this week's Parsha, we have a very interesting character. And obviously we have Abraham and Sarah, they're the most interesting characters. But we have a very difficult to understand character, and that's Lot. Lot is Abraham's nephew. And in a certain sense, Lot is a very great person. He follows Abraham to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. God spoke to Abraham, he didn't speak to Lot. But Lot followed him. And also he had a merit that when Abraham had to hide the identity of his wife Sarah when he was in Egypt to save their lives, Lot didn't give away a secret, even though perhaps he could have benefited. He could have, been taken over and got Abraham out of the way. But he was loyal. And also, later when he left Abraham, very strangely left him, so he's in the city of Sodom, the most wicked, selfish city in the world, where it was against the law to give charity. And he's secretly giving charity, surreptitiously. He's risking his life to follow the traditions of Abraham. So, now that's the good part. But as we said, we have these other parts of him. We said that he left Abraham. We don't understand why. After going all the way to Israel and, so keeping a secret, he left Abraham. And then he was captured once and Abraham saved him. But then he left him again. And then later in his life, he does, we'll just mention one part of a little of the unbelievable things that he does, is that when his two guests are being threatened and that the people of the city want to kill them, he says, don't take these guests, take my two daughters. So on the one hand, it's like, all right, he's willing to give everything to save these guests, but he's willing to give his daughters' lives. It's just, he has this greatness and he has this critical flaw, and how do we put the two together? So I have a story. It's a personal story, meaning I heard it personally. I know the person who experienced it, and I thought, this story really is the point. And it has to do with a very close family friend of my family. And this person I've known for many, many years, still know them. And this woman was a married woman, who was a Jewish housewife. I know the story was in the late 60s, early 70s this happened. And she was a Jewish housewife, and most women did not work. But there was a lot of pressure in being a housewife. There's a lot of pressure just to live to a certain standard and to be considered, better than some other people or not worse than some people. And so what did a Jewish woman in the early 70s do when she was under a lot of pressure? She, of course, went to the doctor. And what did the doctor do? Dr. Lustig? They prescribed Valium. And she started taking Valium. And she took one, I don't remember the exact numbers, I don't still remember dosages, but at least she told me she took 1 pill a day, and then her body got used to that. It was then she had to take 2 pills a day, and it got used to it again, the doctor kept upping it, and everyone else was on it. And she said after not so long, she was at 8 pills a day. And she really felt very, very bad. She physically, mentally, she felt very bad. So that's it, I think this is, I know I need it, I'm addicted. Went cold turkey, stopped taking it. Ended up in the emergency room, almost died. And this is the way she told the story. And so she said she called her doctor, a Jewish doctor, prescribed. All these housewives he prescribed. So what should I do? So he says, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. He says, this is what you have to do. He says, listen exactly to what I tell you. You're going to take 7 Valium pills a day for a week, next week. The week after that, you take 6 pills a day for the week. 5 pills a day, 4. In a couple of months, he had her weaned off of Valium. And now she's, thank God, she's an older woman, active, healthy, as far as I know, and so it saved her life. So she told me the story. It's a very heavy story, and she said, it's just so tragic, really so sad. And I said, tragic, sad, it sounds like a pretty happy ending for, what could have been much worse. She said, no. She said, that Jewish doctor, he died the next year of a drug overdose. He was hooked himself. And it really struck me, and she pointed this out, but we all understand, it's like, here's this doctor. All right, so he got people hooked on Valium, so that was a common thing back then. But he saved her life. He knew exactly what she needed to do to survive. If she didn't do this, she would die. And he was very firm with her, and the whole doctor, posture he presented before her, and she followed him. But he couldn't do it for himself. He had the same problem, it seemed, or almost the same problem. And for other people, he could save another person, but to save himself, he couldn't do it. And I thought, wow, this is Lot, isn't it? This is exactly Lot. for other people, these two guests he's going to give, he's going to risk his life. But then for his own life, or for what him personally, his personal morality and his personal life, or his daughters, which are extension of him, right? He doesn't feel the same way. He's this very complicated person, a certain greatness, a greatness about Lot. But there's also, he had a critical flaw. He had a very critical flaw, and that critical flaw crushed him, and it stopped him from being one of the greatest people in history. Eventually, his great descendants, right, became Ruth, and Mashiach, the Messiah, comes from his line. Many generations later, the good in him survived and will be fully expressed. But he himself, in his generation, was crushed by this critical flaw. And it makes me think, and the thought I'll leave you with is, right, everyone here, I look around this room, it's an unbelievable room of people getting together to study Torah, people with very, very great, powerful qualities, amazing qualities, very, very righteous people. But on the other hand, some of us, and I can speak for myself for sure, and it could be couple other people here, it could be, right, we have certain critical flaws, right, we have certain issues that we struggle with that hold us back from really achieving the full greatness that we can. And it's something to think about. It's easier when you look at somebody else. To look at myself, very difficult. But to look at Lot, to look at this doctor tragically, and to look at Lot, and to recognize the qualities that we have, the greatness to develop it, and to recognize that we all have certain faults, and to understand that we need to get those under control to bring out what we really could be. Okay?